Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Hingham School Committee meeting of September 23rd, 2019. I'm calling the meeting to order. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and televised by Harbor Media. If anyone else intends to audio or video record this meeting, could you please let me know now? Okay, great. Thank you. Item 2 on the agenda is approval of minutes. We have minutes of the school committee meeting held on September 9th, 2019 to be approved. They should be in everyone's packet. Do I have? Okay. Is your internet down? That's just the agenda. You want to make a motion? Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the school committee meeting held on September 9th, 2019.
Second? Thank you, Ed. Any discussion, comments, questions? No? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Great. Any opposed? No? Approved. Great. Thank you. Let me just make a note. Carlos and Ed. All right. Item number 3, questions and comments. The Hingham School Committee encourages community engagement. We welcome questions and comments as agenda items are discussed at the meeting. There are 15 minutes set aside at the beginning of the meeting for comments that fall under the purview of the committee that are not already on tonight's agenda. Do we have any guests here tonight who wish to speak? Mr. Estes, come on up. Sorry, I'll have to read the rest of my...
Good evening, Ray Estes, 92 Fort Hill Street. Hello, everybody. Start to the school year. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I just wanted to comment briefly on a few things with respect to the scoreboard that was approved at your last meeting. I want to thank you all for approving that request on behalf of any parent who plays, whose child plays or has played or will play softball in this town in the future, because that's a nice new field, and now it's going to have a new scoreboard appropriate for the amenity. So that's very much appreciated. So thank you for your time. Ed, in particular, your time and efforts on that are noted. Just a couple of quick things. I couldn't be at the meeting. I was at another board meeting, but I was alerted to the discussion, and I happened to watch the meeting because I wanted to make sure that I got it correct. Just very briefly, with respect to the concern that this was a first-time request and was being perhaps acted on too quickly or without the proper research. This was discussed in school committee in 2014 and 2015. And in fact, after the Fields project was completed, there were a number of us on the school committee who were still working to provide some of the amenities that were cut from the original budget for value engineering purposes. Those include foul poles, the scoreboard for the softball field, and also the batting cages. It is true that donors stepped up and provided funds for those. Just to be clear, Hingham Sports Partnership purchased the batting tunnel for the new softball and freshman baseball field. That was $3,350. Batting cage for the new baseball field was purchased for about $5,000, and Babe Ruth paid for that. And the foul poles for both the new baseball field and the new softball field were purchased at a cost of $23.85, and those were paid for by Hingham Little League. So obviously, at the time, we were very grateful. And the reason why donations were sought for those, because those folks came forward and said, hey, did this great job on this project, but we don't have foul poles, we don't have batting cages, we don't have, and they understood that we needed to cut the budget in order to get it to work. Even with the 3.75 of town money and the 1.3 approximately of privately raised money, there still wasn't enough for certain amenities. So they stepped forward to provide those, and one of the things that was in the discussion was a softball scoreboard, but the problem with that was there was no electricity across the wall. So a discussion ensued about how do we get a solar scoreboard, and We had asked Margaret to price one in the fall, September, I think,
Yeah.
of 2015. She did that, and that prompted a discussion back and forth, and then it never went anywhere after that. So it needed some following up, obviously. So too, until this spring, the scoreboard for the JV softball was not operable for 4 years until folks were pressed and the problem was discovered, and now it's operable, which is great. But I would say that the reason why we asked at the time on the school committee folks to step up and donate was because there were not extra funds available. So I know that when you approved the softball scoreboard 2 weeks ago, the money, I believe, that's available that's going to fund that comes from a revolving account, and those are donated funds in connection with the Fields project. A lot of those funds came in after the fact because they were pledges over time, some by HSP, some by private citizens, okay? So at the time we were talking about these amenities, there were not funds available. But since then, 2014, 2015, those funds, and John will give you the details if you want, I'm sure offline, those funds became available in that revolving account. I think it's to the tune of $148,000 or something in that nature. And I think those are the funds that you're going to tap for the scoreboard, which is perfectly appropriate because those are donated funds by citizens of this town for that project. So I think that's a terrific thing. I would suggest that to the extent that you're going to have discussions during the budget season about prospective funding of replacement of the artificial turf, which, by the way, ranges anywhere between 7 and 15 years. We're now at year 5, although it's really only been used heavily for 4 years. It's nowhere near needing of replacement at the moment. So there's no panic. But prospectively, this would be a great account, perhaps, at your discretion, to use to start a fund to build for that need. I think it's I think it's an important budget aspect to look at, particularly now. I'm sure you're talking about priorities and starting to put together budgets, but looking at long-range planning, looking at long-term budgeting, which I think you've done for a number of years, is an important thing. This is something we did talk about in school committee. I went back to minutes and found it 2014, 2015, but nothing was ever done in terms of budgetary cycles. And I understand it's a challenge every year, but perhaps that's something you can, because you have some seed money that came from donated funds specifically for this project that you can't use for any other purpose.
Right.
So I think that's a great opportunity.
Thank you.
So I thank you again for your approval. Look forward to seeing that scoreboard installed. Glad that your meetings with Mr. Zarro and Stafford went well. They're lovely people. I met with them a number of years ago as well. And we look forward to working together to get everything we possibly can for our kids. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Ray.
Michelle,
Thank
I
you.
just have to backtrack for 1 second here on the minutes. Although I had already brought up to Carrie's attention, on 6.3, we just made a small correction there that it was in the negative. So she just added the word not to approach the boosters. So just wanted to bring you to that to your attention. It was a small amendment.
Yeah, I omitted a
And
word.
she already,
Oh, okay, but you'd already taken care of it.
We will. In 6.3.
Yeah, where, what line?
so 6.3, if you look at Carlos da Silva,
Stated that the long-range planning
the
committee,
boosters, what is it?
it's like 3/4 of the way down lies after the $20,000.
Right, yeah.
And then,
Carlos da Silva states that the long-range planning committee recommends. So it's not.
not asking.
Thank you. I would.
If I could just add one thing on that, and then I'll be out of your hair.
Yes.
With respect to the donation from the boosters, when I came in here on their behalf, I did have a conversation with them, and youth softball did offer to provide a small donation to the extent they could, understanding that Little League, Babe Ruth, the other groups have much larger bases and funds available. But when I told them, and in fact, when I gave him the good news, one of the representatives, the good news about your approval, he asked again, can we give you a donation? And I said, the school committee's decided not to seek donations at this time.
So for your information, Ray, and you can kindly relay that to them, that we are looking into put a net there, similar to the one we placed at
Middle school.
at the Varsity soccer field. You know,
Right.
the net there stopping the ball from coming to the parking lot.
We did that at the middle school
So
as well,
if-
next to the
if
softball.
they can
field.
help us with that, that would be great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll
No,
let you know.
I'm sure, but John has the details on that netting because we did it for the middle school
Great.
softball field.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So for the purposes of the minutes, sorry, that we had already just approved, so let's then, I think, reopen that to, thank you.
I'll-
19,
So I'll
including the
second.
word not, as discussed.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Now the minutes of that meeting are really approved. All right.
Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. All right. Any other questions, comments from the audience? All right, thank you. We'll move on to item number 4, Superintendent's Report.
One of these days, I'm going to actually get it right when I look at what I put up there, and never mind, it's not there, so we're going to close that down.
All right.
Close that. Sorry, I apologize for that. Superintendent's report is fairly quick tonight. I do have an enrollment report. Thank you, Carrie, for pointing out we did have an error in there, and so what we have tonight is the latest and greatest report, which I think is fairly accurate now as we get into the school year. Total enrollment at Hingham Public Schools, for which we're fiscally responsible for, is 4,330, which is a rise of 12 students over last year. And so we're confident with this number now, and feel that's pretty solid as we move forward. So that's the enrollment that I have now.
Thank you.
I will say that there's a couple of other things that I want to add, that just a reminder or a shout out to our schools that are doing the Starts With Hello campaign this week. I know that some of you actually are planning on maybe later in the week doing some things with that as well. And this morning I had the pleasure of welcoming 1,000 very fast approaching middle school students very early in the morning, so that was a lot of fun, and it's a great program, and I don't know if you want to add anything to that at all.
Yeah, so Start With Hello Week is a part of the Sandy Hook Promise, and so all 6 of our schools committed over the summer to take more of an active role with the messaging of that organization to provide environments that are free from bullying and inclusive and thoughtful of all members who go to school there. So each school is celebrating Start With Hello Week in different ways, and there are various activities that the principals will be communicating out to their various constituent groups. So it's a very exciting week here in Hingham as we all celebrate Start With Hello.
Thank you, Jamie. And the last thing I'll say is I'm very excited. Tomorrow I start as part of my goals for the year is to create a superintendent student leadership committee at the high school, which starts tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. So I'm looking forward to meeting 8 new students that I don't know yet and starting our work with them. So I'm very excited for that. That's it.
All right, thank you. Item number 5, communications. Any communications received?
I do. I just want to mention one. We had word that there is an organization that had made it public that they thought that Hingham Public Schools was doing some food shaming, what they called food shaming, with students who were being punished or families who were being punished that were not paying for food services. We did look into that issue. We have researched with principals, with our business department, with our food services. We could find no evidence whatsoever that we've ever engaged in food shaming whatsoever. So what I would say publicly, if somebody knows of something that's occurred, please make sure that I know what that is, or I know who that is so that I can address that appropriately. But we certainly don't believe in that, and want to make that very clear that that's nothing that we believe, that whether there's any evidence we've ever done that, nor would we tolerate that. So I want to be clear with that.
Thank you.
That's it.
Okay, thank you. Student communications. Thanks, Emma.
To add to your Hello Week the teachers in our school actually took action today, and on our announcements during each, like in between each class, we had music playing to brighten the day, I guess. And my history teacher, I don't know if other teachers did this too, had us working in groups, and the theme of it was to like introduce yourself and say something about yourself before you started your project. As clubs start to get running again in our school, homework club is every Monday night from 6:30 to 8:30 in the high school LMC, and peer tutors are also offered. So it's student-on-student interaction instead of a teacher. I mean, there's a teacher there to watch over, but it's great to see each grade like help each other out. Also, the Best Buddies Club meets often, and they always encourage new members at all times. And this also relates to the Snap Soccer that's offered every Sunday at 1 p.m., and I know a lot of high school students try to get there to support it. The freshman class had elections on the 20th, and the new board is Cal Larson, Eric Gu, Connor Lash, and Sydney Driscoll. Tomorrow is voter registration day, and at lunch or before school you can pre-register to vote or register to vote if you're 18. Parent-teacher night is Thursday from 7 to 8:45, and the student council will be guiding the parents to each of their classes, just like we did at freshman orientation. On October 4th, the soccer program, boys and girls, will have a double-header game against Plymouth South. This night will be in memory of Maddie McCoy, a friend, teammate, and inspiration to many, who passed away this past spring from pediatric cancer. All money made will go directly to the Maddie's Promise nonprofit organization, where her parents actually go to different medical conventions and find doctors that will put the money directly towards pediatric cancer instead of a larger fund like Dana-Farber that sends their money to a wider, broader group of cancer, and usually 4% or less only goes to pediatric cancer, and they usually go to older cancers for older people. Our goal is to make $50,000, and the kids that started this are actually, I think they're just entered middle school, so they were in elementary school when they started, and they sell her artwork. They reproduce her artwork and sell it at different sporting events on the weekends, and they're actually selling t-shirts during the high school lunch. They're going to come and join the soccer teams to sell t-shirts to try to raise more money. And both of the teams have special uniforms they'll be wearing, and Plymouth South has also agreed to wear purple to support pediatric cancer.
That's really great.
On a sports front, the football and boys soccer are undefeated, while field hockey and cross country and volleyball continue to add their wins to their belt. Lastly, the senior captains and club leaders will attend an all-day leadership conference on either Thursday or Friday to help continue the positive and inclusive environment at Hingham High School.
That's great. Thanks so much, Emma. Thank you. All right, that's great stuff. All right, under new business, we have several first reads, correct? All of them for policy. So I think, Carrie, you're going to be on here. So, all right, so 6.1 is to hear a proposed revision of HPS Policy 3.74, Order of Business and Agenda.
So this is just, it's done, it has made two changes. One is to remove the prescribed order of business that was in the original policy, so that should give the chair and the superintendent more flexibility when drafting the agenda, which will hopefully lead to more efficient meetings. And then the other change we made was removing the requirement that the school committee members submit agenda item requests in writing, and that's just to reflect our current practice. So all school committee members can still suggest an agenda item, but it doesn't necessarily have to be on a form.
In writing, okay, all right. All right, so this is just a first reading, so we're not taking action on it tonight, other than if people have comments, suggestions, thoughts about the way the language reads right now, or how it's going to be revised. Any comments, questions on that? No? Okay. All right.
Okay.
Sounds good. All right.
So the next one is public involvement.
Yeah.
And this one, let's see. So what it does is it retained part of what was in our current policy, which describes the way the public can access school committee meetings. It's televised in the website. So that stays the same. We removed paragraphs 2 and 3 from the current policy and replaced them with a kind of a detailed process regarding how members of the public can engage in school committee meetings. The language is suggested by the district council, and the goal was to make sure that we are not in any kind of violation of the First Amendment.
Okay. Does the policy now say they are televised?
It's
does.
when
When available? Okay.
Yeah,
I was
that
just,
first, yeah.
okay.
First
I
paragraph
was just
is
thinking
different.
if we, and it does say as to the extent that resources allow, because we were having a little talk about maybe moving to the school sometimes to have meetings, just, but if, yes, but,
Yeah, but we,
okay,
yeah.
we'll have to deal with that if that comes up. Any questions, thoughts on this? This is a little more broad, but I think most of it is driven by legal decisions and the way we want to.
This is driven by a lawsuit that the Natick School Committee faced in their public comment, and so all school committees around the state are revising their policies accordingly. So this is just so we're all prepared appropriately.
Right.
Yeah, and the goal is to make sure that we're not censoring any kind of content with the policy, and yeah, so that's mainly
Yeah.
it, because you can't do that except for in some very limited circumstances. So.
Okay. No, and I think it makes sense too. And I mean, I think this allows us as a committee to, people can come to the meeting and they can speak and say what they need to speak. We don't have to address it that evening, right? We can just simply hear a concern or an issue that's being raised and then, take it up at the next meeting. So I don't think this is, anything that hinders us doing our business. So yeah, so thank you. This is a lot of work on this, so thank you. And I know, Jamie, you did a lot on this, even starting last year, so thank you. Any other questions or comments on this, or people, is the language, the way it reads, good for folks as of right now? All right.
All right. So 6.3A is regarding the homeless students, and the only the only addition we made was requires immediate enrollment, even if the student doesn't necessarily have all of their documentations, and that was at the request of the state too.
Okay. So that was sort of state language. Okay.
So I will note, just to interrupt,
No, go ahead.
that provision was in the procedures, but not present
Ah.
in the policy. And
Got
so
it.
we underwent our Every Student Succeeds audit last year, which investigated our compliance with provisions for homeless students, students who were in foster care, students who were in military-connected families, right? And so you passed this initial policy, not homeless, but the others, a number of years ago, and so this is just the first opportunity the state had to examine it, and they just wanted us to add that one sentence into the body of the policy as opposed to referencing procedure.
Is that required?
It is.
It's
Under the
required.
McKinney-Vento Homeless Education Act, which is a federal law, which ensures continuity of educational stability for kids who are homeless.
Without medical records?
Correct. If they're homeless, they get to say, I'm homeless, and they're immediately enrolled. Everything else comes later.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions or concerns on that? Okay. All right.
And the next one, 6.3B, does the exact same thing, but it's regarding students in foster care. So it allows for immediate enrollment even if they don't have everything. It's same reason.
Same. Yep.
Yeah.
Same reason. Okay. Any questions, comments on that one? No? All right. 6.5.
6.5. Jamie, do you want to?
Yeah, so we're in front of the committee for first reading is a revision of the athletic participation restrictions, which really addresses it's really the committee's policy relative to dealing with concussions. And so after a review by the Department of Public Health, we wanted to ensure appropriate compliance with all expectations outlined by the state. And so what's before you is a new draft which it fully incorporates all feedback that we received regarding our policy.
Thank you. Any questions or comments on this particular? Yeah.
Harry, we just, if you can make a note while we're talking about, in the first paragraph at the end, in the italicized language, we had talked about deleting the word Aspen and just saying file, just
Right.
so that it has a longer life in the event that we're
We
not
change systems
specifically
or-
using Aspen
Fair enough.
in the future. No, I'm not saying we're not.
Yeah, no, that's fair, yeah, yeah.
But
No, that makes sense.
just to keep it,
More generic,
yeah.
Any other? Yes? No?
Actually,
Okay.
I'm sorry, I have a question about the homeless and the foster care ones, that had never actually occurred to me before, but it has to do with vaccinations, and then I'm sort of asking, like, well, what are our rules and regulations about vaccines, and, I don't know if this is a good time to,
Sure. So there's nothing prohibitive relative to, so just because you're homeless or in foster care, you still meet all the same expectations everybody else does. All the policy edit did was establish immediate enrollment. So if a social worker arrives at a school with a student and says they're now living in the community and they're here to enroll in school, we say, okay.
yeah.
And we let them enroll, we give them a schedule. There's still a requirement for paperwork, right? So we're not suggesting, unlike other students who live in the community, who may have to come and present proof of residence and bill, right? There's sort of expectations for enrollment, and then we can't actually enroll you until we get appropriate medical documentation or sign-offs, et cetera, right? All this is saying is none of those rules are applicable to students who are either homeless or in foster care. They're allowed to come right then, and then we sort that out later. In fact, even if there's a question of residency with homelessness, we sort that out after they're enrolled, right? So we have to, there's a legal requirement, and this is federal law, that the kids are automatically enrolled. Because remember, the focus here is on educational stability, ensuring that there's a consistent, stable educational environment for the kids to participate in. So there's still, I don't want to give the impression that they don't have to submit any paperwork, right? What the difference is unlike other kids who would have to have all that on file before they're allowed to get a schedule, these kids are allowed a schedule, and then we sort that out after. But all the same expectations of paperwork and vaccinations and immunizations and records thereof are still required. They just come at a different time than somebody who may not be homeless or in foster care. You're welcome.
All right. Any other questions about the athletic participation? No? Okay. 6.6, 2, so that's it for the policy ones, yes? Okay, awesome. Sorry, so the next step on that, we have going to the next school committee meeting where we will act on them, so make sure everyone reads those in depth and make sure you don't have any other questions when we bring them back at the next meeting. All right, 6.6, to receive a recommendation to declare as surplus 4 Vanguard 420 sailing boats and surplus rigging and act as appropriate.
Yes, so I received a request from the sailing coach, Joe Griffin, as well as the director, Jim Quattromoni, to sell 4 Vanguard 420 sailing boats, along with the riggings that are associated with those sailboats. A couple years back, they did they sold 4 other boats, and those did get purchased through I think from a school up in New Hampshire, and we received funding of $3,300, which was deposited into the athletic gift account when it was sold after being declared surplus. And that depositing into the athletic gift account is because the boat was originally a gift. So it's just keeping that status of the boat as a gift as opposed to having it be returned to the taxpayers. They just recently have purchased 4 new boats from the Hingham Yacht Club at a price of, I think, $14,000. And they've asked to be able to use that $3,300, which is exactly what the purpose of the money was for when we did that a couple of years ago. Now they're looking to surplus and sell an additional 4 boats, 420s, and to have the same thing happen, to try to sell those boats to the highest bidder. They estimate the price a boat may get at these, any one of these four may get anywhere between $500 and $1,200. Last time we did the 4 boats, we got $3,300, so not sure what we'll get, but certainly we expect to get some type of salvage value from them when we sell them. So this is really this is it's a request to declare surplus those 4 boats so that we can in fact offer them to the public through gov deals and any other methods that may be appropriate so that we can achieve the highest bidder for these boats. And any funding that we would get for the sale of these boats would again go to the athletic gift account so that they could be used by the sailing team to purchase new boats in the future.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to declare surplus of 4 Vanguard 420 sailboats in poor to good condition, including mainsail, jibs, rudders, mast and boom, and direct the director of business to dispose of the boats to the highest bidder and deposit any funds received into the athletic gift account for future use by the selling team to purchase boats.
Second. Thank you. Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right,
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, John. All right, and then items 6.7 through 6.9 are notifications of new appointments, some new hires, and advancements on the salary scale. So those names, there's several, so they're in your packet. So those are there. Any, item number 7, any 48-hour items to discuss?
If I can just add quickly, just for the school committee and the folks here tonight, that Jackie Sansone is our new Director of Kids in Action, and she is in the audience tonight. So I want to say congratulations and
Yes,
thank you.
congratulations, Jackie.
Thank you.
Thank you, sure. No, congratulations. Thank you. All right, no 48-hour items, so that's another 7. Subcommittee and project reports. Let's start with, Carlos, I'm going to start with you, long-range planning, or whoever would like to go first.
We don't have anything new on
Okay.
long-range planning.
Okay.
We did a lot of policy.
We did a lot of policy already tonight.
We talked about goals for the committee too, and we'll keep tweaking those, but one that we really think is important is aligning our current policy manual with the National School Board and the MASC format. And we're hoping that by going through that, we'll catch any policies we need to update or add to the book. So,
Okay.
SNAP, I can update
Yeah.
it. Those programs are going for the fall. We're doing soccer, boxygen, yoga, Zumba, learn to skate, hockey, and we just had our first practice for flag football. So those are going well.
Great, awesome. Sorry, Carrie, would you mind giving the CPAC update too from the meeting? Just,
Oh,
was there
yeah, yeah.
anything to report? Sorry, because I wasn't there.
Yeah. It was good. They have a full board, which is great. So Tim Miller-Dempsey and Jen Gallagher are the co-chairs. Sharon Burnett is coming on as treasurer. Shara Russo is going to be the secretary, and Katie McBrien is coming on as the educational director, which is great. We talked a lot about different topics that people were interested in hearing about. So they're really doing a focus on parent education, and they're going to be sending out a Survey Monkey to kind of get a broader feel for what people want to hear. And they have another meeting scheduled at the end of October. I don't
Great.
have it in front of me right
No,
now.
that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you. Ed, do you have any liaison reports?
Just a couple of thoughts. Just an update on a misspeak that I did at a recent meeting. In January 2016, Wayland was cross-referenced for replacing windows in their school. To be truthful, John and Carlos were more accurate. Ed was way too high when he said 2 to 3 million. They compared 9,600 square feet, and it was a 1.8 million. So the number that I mentioned was not correct.
Thank you.
And secondly, we talked last time about the concession stand, and would like to just thank and recognize 4 parents that went over and above with respect to some cleaning and some organizing to get it ready. And Lisa Shetty and Diane Ahern from the Soccer Boosters, Caitlin Ogar, Board of Hingham Youth Football, and Amy Crean, co-president of the Hingham High School PTO. They spent the better part of a Saturday morning fluffing and buffing. And thank you.
Yes, thank you. Liza, do you have anything?
Yes, Foster School, they will starts with Hello Week and have invited school committee members to join on Wednesday, and I'm not sure who's joining. I have to move my shift to Thursday,
Yes.
unfortunately. So I just want to let you guys know I wouldn't be there. And salary negotiations, we'll talk tonight in executive session. And I went to the first meeting for the town master plan, and we heard a presentation from the consultants that are hired to create the master plan, and a huge endeavor by the committee and the chair of the committee, planning board's direction, and with the consultants, is extensive community outreach for helping Hingham plan for the future. And so the master plan will be a statement about what a community wants for its future and how to get there. And there will be a logo developed and a tagline so that people can understand it. And they really want to reach even to the people that don't participate normally, especially all those people. So there's discussion about reaching out senior center, young parents, at all different aspects. So we will be asked by the schools to help contribute with possibly communications out through our efforts, PTO, newsletters, any other organizations we know of. So more to come on that, possibly even like at homecoming, setting up a table so that we can get people to fill out a survey and share where they want Hingham to go in the future. The consultants are planning some targeted sessions with board members and staff. And I believe did everybody get a letter in the mail from Gordon Carr? Okay. So the facilities session that's scheduled for tomorrow has been changed to October 21st, and we just got notice of that this afternoon. So that was a key one that I was planning to go to. So make note, October 21st. And we have a school committee meeting that night, so you can go straight from town hall to here. So that's about the update on that. We have another meeting for that the middle of October.
Great.
So I'll keep everybody apprised of the progress.
All right, thank you very much. Libby? Community outreach?
Yep, so for community outreach, we are very excited to be hosting a coffee and conversation with our new superintendent, Dr. Paul Austin, and it will be held on Tuesday, October 15th from 10 to 12 at the community center, and we want everybody to come and meet our new superintendent and have a casual conversation with him. So again, that's October 15th, 10 to 12 at the community center. Please come. And for Hingham Education Foundation, they are off to a very good start. I have to just commend all of the people on that committee. It's a huge group of people that are very dedicated, and it seems well-oiled, and they are ready to go to raise some funds for the schools this year. They're in this is going to be the third year of the computer science immersion, and they are starting to think ahead for future projects to fund as well. They are having a coffee and conversation with the superintendent as well at the community center. Theirs is on October 1st.
I don't think theirs is not
I'm
with the
sorry.
superintendent.
No,
right?
that's not accurate, no.
Yes.
They're having
They're-
a conversation about their work in the initiative.
Oh.
for computer science. I think-
Sorry.
Yeah, your events. the
Okay,
coffee,
he will
yeah.
be there, and you will be there.
Yes,
We both
plan
will.
to
And,
attend,
yes, and Katie Roberts will be
Yeah.
there, right,
I just
okay,
wanna make
so,
sure we're
but,
clear
oh,
for
right,
both.
that's good to clarify, because
Yeah.
there is some confusion, right. So
Yes.
2 separate events,
One on the 15th and one.
one on the 15th and one on the
First,
1st. Come to both.
We get a lot of coffee.
They're gearing up for the spelling bee on Sunday, November 3rd. That's always a really fun event. And they're talking about the spring event, which is still in the idea phase. So, good stuff. And then South School Council, I unfortunately will not be able to make it to the very first meeting this coming Wednesday, but I will go to the one in October, on October 23rd, my anniversary.
All right. Thank you. Ness, do you have anything you want to do?
Nope, nothing to add.
Do you want to mention our Metco
The Metco apple
meeting?
picking,
No.
or? Oh,
Yes,
the
yes.
meeting?
Yep, the meeting.
So
you
there
and I
was the
had.
apple picking over the weekend. Saw some pictures, a busload filled with kids going to Honey Pot to go apple picking. Some of the students who participate in the Metco program and their families went to join whoever showed up there. So that was a nice event. They had a perfect day for it. And then we had a meeting with, are you referencing
Yes,
the Carol's
you and I
meeting?
had with
So we
Carol's.
had a meeting with Carol's, who is the Metco director, and we had great discussions about just where the program is going, and just talking about community and discussions and how to bring those concerns, any concerns, up to different people. So we were talking through that and talking about where the program is going. Talked about the budget there and how that all gets rolled in to our budget here. So I think we had good discussions.
Yeah, no, it was great, thank you. Because that's a new liaison role this year, so Ness and I are sort of doing it together. And so part of the meeting, too, was just discussing what that role would mean, so that we would be able to report back to the committee and to the administration, things that we're hearing from Metco. So, good stuff. Any other liaison reports from others? I did attend the All-Town PTO meeting, Dr. Austin's first All-Town PTO meeting, with all the PTO presidents and/or their designees, as well as people representing Metco. And it was great. It was a great meeting. There was lots of engagement, and people are really looking forward to another great year. PTO is, as always, asking what they can do and what they can do to help the schools with, whether it be education, fundraising, whatnot. So it was a great meeting. I did mention to all of them that that you, the school community members that are liaisons to schools, would reach out to them and just give them your contact information if you haven't already done that. And that from time to time, they could maybe give you 5 or 10 minutes on their PTO meeting agendas if you have time to attend, to just sort of fill them in on school committee matters. Folks can do that. That was it. And then, Ed, we had Carlos and I had some correspondence from Hingham Cares, and they were looking for a liaison to Hingham Cares, and it's not directly related to the schools, like I think all of the other liaison groups that we have. But there is some overlap there, and they had mentioned that you had gone to a few meetings, and I was just wondering, are you, or if anyone, is interested in trying to attend meetings from time to time to let?
They're looking for some help, absolutely.
Okay.
That particular committee has really developed and meandered. Dr. Gallo took it upon herself right from the get-go to be one of the principals, along with some other people. I attended regularly for 2 to 3 years, and then, I don't know, just, I'll contact them and then let
Okay.
them know,
That'd be great. All right, thanks.
Is anyone else interested in doing something? I don't mean to-
I know, I think the interest is there, but I think just everyone
Yeah.
is stretched pretty thin.
Really good.
But yeah, that would be great. It's a great organization trying to, educate the community on matters having to do with substance abuse
Yeah,
in our
yeah.
community. So I think that'd be great. Thank you. All right. And then Special Ed Subcommittee, we are going to have a meeting. Dr. Vinnis confirmed she can meet on the 3rd. I'll just confirm time. I think we were 10:30, 11 o'clock. if that's good, but I'll confirm that with you
Yeah.
both for that. And our next school committee meeting is, we have a committee meeting on the 30th. It's really a workshop for our mask training with Dr. Austin and Dr. Presser. Is it Dr. Presser? And then the central office team will be here. And then October 7th, we have a meeting. I will not be here actually on the 7th. I didn't tell you that. Sorry, I just found out today. I'm traveling that day, but I will be here on the 21st.
And I'm going to be late on the 7th.
Okay.
I have to go to a planning board meeting for my neighborhood, so if you can make sure you have a quorum for the beginning of
Yes.
the meeting.
Okay, so everybody
I'll
else?
be here. Yeah.
All right, we'll be here on the 7th. Okay, great, thank you.
Just one other quick thing, as we're going down, and it seems like it was a long, long time ago, but as I look at my calendar, I did attend the MSBA walk-around at Foster School.
Oh, yes.
And to be honest, Principal Beth Wilcox, our business manager John Ferris, and the chairman of the Foster Building Committee, Ray Estes, they really carried the ball. They were very, very well prepared. It was an excellent meeting. Dr. Austin was there. He's agreeing. These people were well prepared. It was a good meeting, and keep our fingers crossed.
All right, great, thank you. Well, with that, I would take a motion to adjourn to executive session.
A second.
I think somebody else, I'm sorry, I was asking for a motion.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Executive session not to return to open session for the purpose of approving minutes of the executive session held on June 17th, 2019, discussing strategy related to the collective bargaining process and discussing matters related to the HEA Unit A collective bargaining contract. The discussion thereof would impact our negotiating ability.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Carlos, thank you. All right, that is a roll call vote, so, Ness?
Aye.
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 Aye. All right, we are adjourned from regular session. Thank you.
Thank you.